It's a great question and no easy answer. And I agree with Ralph, we are a very heterogeneous country, so the best model, there is no single best model for us. I think we have to agree on what are the basic things. I mean, another part of the conversation we haven't had is, Allyson sort of alluded to it, but let's translate it. The country has not come to a conclusion that basic access to healthcare is a right. So until you have that conversation, you can't deal with all these other issues. And many state governors, by not accepting Medicaid expansion, made a decision that healthcare in their state is not a right. So there is no single best model. There's aspects that make sense from all over the world, which we have a 14-week course on trying to sort this out. But I think that the core question is, we haven't had the key conversation, is this a right, or is this something that we're going to divide up based on class, gender, color, income, zip code? That's where we currently are. So it's an impossible question to answer.
Well, can I just follow on something that Ralph said earlier, which is that I do think that we could make it easier, we could make it more streamlined in what we do, right? That's key. Start the places we could start. I don't know that we're going to have this one big conversation that says, okay, tomorrow we're going to change the healthcare system in America.
But we could do that.
We could. I thought we made a pretty big change with Obamacare. We really did. And that took us a long time, 30 years to get there. We've been talking about that. But yeah, it's not perfect, but it does set up the stage to have these, you can have the big conversations. Do we all think people should have health care? How do we do that through health coverage? And I think we do want to have choices as Americans. I think Ralph's right about that. There are models out there that suggest it. But there's some basic health care that everyone should absolutely have access to. I think we've made real progress, and I think we may not make a lot of progress in the next few years because the president doesn't want us to, in the sense of really making sure that we have coverage and easier access and more streamlined care and coverage. But I think we can build on the system that we have, making very real changes in the way we deliver care and the way we finance care, so there can be more assurance for Americans that they're going to have coverage, no matter who they are, no matter how much they make, no matter where they work or live.
Thank you, Allyson. Ralph, the next question is, what would you like to see in a good health care bill? I assume that means some health care reform.
I think the thing you've heard from the panel is I wish they wouldn't stop. I wish they'd stop trying to replace Obamacare, and if we get on with the kind of making the changes that are necessary. For example, again, simple problem: half of us in the country get our health care from our employer. So whether it's Penn or Vanguard or PNC or Blue Cross or whatever, the other half of us basically some kind of governmental program. Whether that's if we're over 65, Medicare or disabled, or Medicaid, or the VA. So roughly half and half. So a lot of Obamacare really didn't affect as much the employed population. And as I pointed out earlier, it affected the Medicaid population in 30 states, 31 actually, in 19, it did largely the so-called, the red states, and largely in the South. And then it added roughly about 10, 11 million people in what it calls these exchanges. As I think Allyson pointed out, if you have to pay for health care, which roughly costs in the Commonwealth about $17,000 per family, if you're making $30,000, you can't afford it, which is why we have these subsidies. So the current argument that's going on in the bill that's being supported by Senator Alexander and Senator Murray is to keep those subsidies, the jargon is cost sharing reduction. But they're basically subsidies on people who make less than $80,000 so they can afford health care in this country. And unfortunately, the president is against continuing those subsidies, so those people are going to feel the pressure. I think, Tony knows, I think prior to the president coming out against the subsidies, the average insurance rate next year in the Commonwealth for these was going to go up 8%. And when they took the subsidies away, it's going to go up 28 to 30. So that shows you that these subsidies are very important somebody makes $30,000-$40,000, even at 4 times poverty inside the Commonwealth, that's $80,000. You need some subsidy to afford a $17,000 family health care coverage. So I wish the president would change his mind. I wish he'd support the bill. I wish the other states in the Commonwealth, largely the South, would get and expand Medicaid. And I think what I really hope is, in some ways, healthcare is so complicated. I'm glad the president finally figured it out. Peter Drucker, famous management consultant, wrote 4 years ago, the hospitals and healthcare are the most complex social institutions inside the country. Every time we have election, and I said this to President Obama, I'm sending him from my Chicago days, where Chicago guys, don't throw out all the Bush stuff, fix it. And same thing I would say to Mr. Trump, don't throw out all the Obama stuff, fix it. Same thing happened in England. You know, Mr. Blair came in and he threw out the Thatcher stuff. And then Cameron comes in and he throws out the Blair stuff. That's ridiculous. These things are so complex. But as a society, we like to run big healthcare debates, you know, Obamacare is broken, that's stuff. It's ridiculous. We should take these complex institutions, try to figure out from social science, whether it's at Jefferson or Penn or elsewhere, what things you need to tweak at the margin. But unfortunately, that's not the debate we've had the last 20 years. We come in with big political mandates to do something different, but we'd be much better off in a complicated healthcare world, learning a little bit from what worked well, what didn't work well in Obamacare, and try to fix it. But unfortunately, that's not where we are right now. And the president is unfortunately leading the charge and doing the disruptive stuff.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, I mean, from Independence's standpoint, so you probably know that we are the only insurance company in southeastern Pennsylvania that participates in the ACA, and everyone else is left. So there's only one choice in the exchange in this region, and that's Independence Blue Cross. And we remain committed through 2018, no matter what. The major reason being, we have 300,000 people, 200,000 people in the 5-county Philadelphia area insured through the individual exchange. 200,000 people have gotten insurance in these 5 counties because of Obamacare, and 100,000 in New Jersey through our subsidiary there. So we have 300,000 lives, 300,000 members whose care would be disrupted if this thing blows up. So we're pushing dramatically. Dan Hofree, our CEO, is in Washington on a regular basis to try and get the current bill passed, which continues the cost-sharing subsidies, and try and move towards a bipartisan solution that focuses on the number one thing, which 28 million newly insured people in the United States and 300,000 people insured in this region with the ACA. So let's do everything that we can not to disrupt that and get some incremental improvements in place, continue to stabilize as much as we can the market. If you take away subsidies, cost-sharing subsidies, if you take away the individual mandate so the healthy people can leave the risk pool, if you add what President Trump is advocating for now, the ability for national insurance companies to put 3-month health plans in place with much lower benefit levels than the ACA mandates, they will completely disrupt the current ACA marketplace. And we just worry about what happens to these 200,000 people here and 100,000 in New Jersey in our backyards. What happens to their access?
So David, you want to make a final comment?
Yeah, I
on
just
this
want
topic?
to tell the story before we get to the additional questions. So, of my 3 children, my youngest, Jake, is going to be he'll be 27, and he's still single, so maybe somebody can help me out here. He lives in Denver. That's right. So here's the story. So my wife's a doctor, I'm a doctor. He's my youngest. Come January, God willing, he'll be 27. Lives in Denver. We're awfully worried about, as Tony alluded to, the state of the exchanges. He works at a startup. There's no healthcare benefit. And I might have a son on Medicaid. Let me let that hang in the air for a moment. And that is where our country's going. And for him, he said, well, I'm okay with that. And then we had to explain to him what it means in our country to be on Medicaid, and what it means in this town to be on Medicaid. Because there's lots of doctors in this town, at Ralph's place and mine, who won't take care of you if you're on Medicaid. So can you just imagine the state of the nation when a two-doctor family has a working, independent son whose only option might be Medicaid. That's a sin, and that's something we could all fix.
Thank you, Dave.